Welcome to this edition of the Chairman's Chair. A lot has happened since my last report. We've come off one of the busiest times in harness racing as we have just completed our annual conference in Auckland. We have had the release of the MESSARA report, and of course we've just come off the back of Cup Week. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the NZ Met for again putting on two great days on Cup Day and Show Day. Today we will review the MESSARA report. We'll have a quick update on funding for next season, and we will look at the CEO position here at Harness Racing New Zealand. As we all know, the MESSARA report has been released. When it was released, HRNZ formed a group of 6 people from our board and from outside the board to dissect this report. After we did that, we made a submission on behalf of HRNZ, and that submission is amongst 1,600 which have been received by the DIA. We were, I suppose, 85% in favour of what MESSARA was reporting, but we had 3 areas of concern that we raised in our submission. One of those concerns was around the formation of the Racing Code Board. We weren't happy with that makeup, and we've expressed that in our report. The second one was around Section 16, which is the funding model that was put forward in John MESSARA's report. We weren't comfortable entirely with that, so we made submissions around that. And also the outsourcing of the TAB. While we are in agreement that we need to look at outsourcing, I think MESSARA's report was that we just go holders boulders and outsource. We want to temper that by looking at the status quo versus what may be available by going to outsourcing. So those were the 3 main concerns, and at this stage we haven't heard back as to what the Minister will do with those reports. From all reports though, the DIA will be advising the Minister within the next 2 to 3 weeks on where he goes from there. Since we've made that submission, the 3 co-chairs had some concerns around the MESSARA report's transition agency. So we arranged for a meeting with the Minister, Winston Peters, at the Beehive some 2 weeks ago. It was a very good meeting, and we outlined some concerns we had. The Minister advised us that he will be putting in place a 5-panel advisory board which would take up the mandate from the MESSARA report. In the meantime, he indicated that the racing board would stay in place as is until such time as he could put the legislation through in one bundle to make the necessary changes. These of course would include the Racefields legislation. On a more positive note, we are expecting some significant changes in our funding for next season. The Minister, Mr Peters, has indicated that he will be putting through in the budget in March a tax reduction for the betting levy, and also we're on track with the Racing Board to see a significant lift in their distribution. So coupled with the tax relief, I would expect stakes should rise significantly in the 1920 season. After Edward's decision to leave the role of Harness Racing New Zealand CEO, we have advertised that role and are currently working through a list of applicants, and we should be in a position to appoint or name a new CEO sometime before the end of this year. At this stage, Edward will finish on the 19th of December, and at that stage Liz Bishop will take up the role as acting CEO until such time as we appoint a permanent CEO. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Edward for his time, his countless hours, his professionalism, and the great job he's done in leading harness racing through good times and bad times over the last 21 to 22 years, I think. He will be missed. He has a lot of industry knowledge. Probably his knowledge is second to none in all codes. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish him well in his future endeavours. As this is the last report for the year, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I look forward to catching you all early in the new year.